Hey, Shalom, Shalom, I want to start off. So it's giving no praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kwakadash, that belongs to the apostles of great Most High, and honors to you brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh, that's the real name of whom the world ignorantly calls God Jehovah Yahweh. His real name is Yahweh, and his son's true name is Yahweh Shai. And we pray Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Ba meaning in, Ha meaning the, and Shah meaning name. So Yahweh, the name of Yahweh Shai. I came across this clip here. Basically, it's a response to this USA Today article. So for the first time in history, women may be included in any future military drafts. I'm gonna play both of them. Those all don't get a strike on them or whatever. And this is it.
We could have been home baking pies all day, but some dumb 100 years ago decided she wanted equal rights, so now we gotta go die for Raytheon. Fuck you.
All right, and it's true. When you really consider the things that what do you call it? Women had to do back in the day. It was set up all in order, right? But now because they went along and made Esau their daddy, right now they basically are being stung by the same one that was so called, setting them free, right? But as this is really the subject of it, I wanted to just play this. Let's see if there's a first time this Congress is considering. Let me don't want to hit this crap, man. Considering that, it says which includes an amendment requiring women 18 to 25 to register for the selective service, right? So you're gonna be seeing some. It's funny, I know a Jade that looks like just like the guy on the right, right? It says women couldn't fight in combat until 2015, right? It says American women are very bit as capable of American men in serving the country, right? There are detractors to the amendment, right? And hey, man, would you? That was a nice little Edomite that one there, man. What would you think will be happening, on the what you call on in these bases out there, man? Because at the end of the day, he can say everything he want, right? But at the end of the day, there are differences, right? These feminists, whatever, they can say whatever they want, but there are differences, man. Right, and you're gonna be finding it out when you're out there dying in the valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Shaphat, because anyone that goes out there ain't making it back. Okay, so this is Sirach. I'm gonna start 12. I'm gonna start from 10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." Now, for instance, our women have made Esau their friend, right? They've made Esau their friend because they've always thought Esau will have their back and protect them. Right now, once again, they're gonna be sent out there to die for Raytheon. Right, and that's one of the things I liked about the statement in the which the first clip that I played. Right, this one here, because at the end of the day, when these guys are going out there to fight these wars and these battles, they ain't going there to fight any other reason but for the for the sake of the elites. Okay, because they're fighting. Well, you got that saying, all wars are bankers' wars, right? For instance, I still remember to this day, in the time I believe it was definitely when Obama was in power. I think he wanted to bomb Syria. I remember when it was being announced, just looking at the stock prices for Lockheed Martin, for Raytheon, for these different military companies, and their stock prices were just shooting up. Why? Because these guys are murderers, man, right? And they're all about that money. And ultimately, because wait, when you look at one of them Tomahawk missiles, right, we need to remember that those go for between 800,000 to 1.5 million a piece. Okay, so the night that the West, or it was either Syria, Libya, when they bombed, then I believe they dropped like 100, right? So that's 800, what was it, 80 to 150 million dollars that was just burnt in one night. Because that's the thing, it's not like you can reuse them. Now you use them and then they're gone. Okay, because once again, all wars are bankers' wars. Right, verse 11, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his wrath hath not been altogether wiped away. Right, so oh, I'm gonna make it so that you can be on the military just like as men on the military, Right, you lot are also, so as competent as men. You ain't as competent, man. Right? The Lord, made a specific order in things, right? The scriptures even talk, hey, you're not even really allowed to be out there teaching, man, right? Why? Because there are certain roles that are dedicated for men and certain roles that are dedicated for women. And there's nothing wrong with that. Esau says there is, but there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's a set order in things, right? First Corinthians 11:3. But I'll have you know that the head of every man is Yahweh Shai, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Yahweh Shai is the Most High. Okay, so the set order, man. You got Yahweh, right? Yahweh Shai, the Israelite man, the Israelite woman, Israelite children, right? Then these heathen nations, man. Okay, but because you wanted to make Esau your friend, you wanted to trust your enemy. Now you're seeing, the fruits of your labor, if you will. Okay, I'm trying to remember how it's phrased. That's really easy actually. Join on one wanted something else actually as well. It says Psalms 55 and 20 and 21. It says, He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth are smoother than butter. Yeah, feminism. Yeah, go do what you can do whatever you want. Right? It says, but war was in his heart because ultimately he knew that he was going to spin this against these broads and basically, once again, push them out into the battle. Like you read in the scriptures, it speaks about how, for instance, Isaiah 47th chapter speaks about how you're going to have a lot of, what's the word? Basically, a lot of dead men is the point. You're going to have a lot of dead men, right? Because why? This is all about the meat grinder of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Right? You're going to see a lot of men going out there to one. They just ain't making it back, right? For instance, you got 2nd Ezra 13. Let me just... This is when Yahweh Shai comes back, man. I'll start from see where to start. I'll start from verse 9, right? So 2nd Ezra 13 and 9. No, let me read into it. I'll read quick, sluck. 2nd Ezra 13:1. And it came to pass after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea that it moved all the waves thereof, and I beheld, lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, right, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the fire faileth when it feeleth the fire. Right, so there's fire coming from the chariots and from the ICBMs. So then after this, I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. So the chariots will compass the whole earth. So there will be armies from all nations coming from the four winds attempting to fight Yahweh and the angels. Right, it says in the book of Revelation, this multitude is referred to as the beast out of the seas and out of space. Right, it says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. So this is the chariot that Yahushua flew on, so huge that Ezra couldn't see where it began or where it ended. Verse 8 says, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Right, because the Lord's going to put the spirit on them to continue to fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came up, he neither lifted up his hand nor held sword nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath. Right, so all the beings coming out of the chariots. says, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and timbers, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with the violence upon the multitude which prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude there was nothing to be perceived but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Okay, so when it all is said and done, and then now Yahushua is coming back, right? You're gonna be having all of these different heathens that are tried to fight against him, right? Just getting burned up. Now imagine the Lord burning you, and you hear it is you're an Israelite, man. You're in a fighter jet trying to take out your own Lord, right? You're just gonna get burnt up. So as we're seeing here, it ain't just gonna be the men that gonna be burnt up. Gonna be the women as well. And once again, would you think it's happening to them in the military, man? You're getting certain men that ain't had a beat in a minute, and they'll just take. Okay, so all of you people that trusted this devil, that you wanted to hold hands with him, whatever, what have you, right? And that's a damn shame. And you see these two Jakes, man. But this is the thing. That's a spirit that was back in Rome, right? Jake all fighting all up in Esau's military and shit, man, right? And that's a damn shame. Right, but hey, guess what? Your own power's gonna take you out, man, in these last days. Right? And this is the thing. There are things that the Lord has set up for what you call it, for these broads to be doing, but they just don't want to do it. That's just Proverbs 31 and 10 says, who can find a virtuous woman, for a price is far above rubies. The heart of a husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Because you think about the scripture says, he that getteth a wife getteth a possession, right? A pillow of rest, roughly paraphrasing. And that's it. It's supposed to be a rest, but right now, because they're all Esau's, woman. No matter where, these women are all Esau's women, man. If they're in the West, that's an Edomite woman, man. Right? She's married to Esau. Okay. Why? Because they follow, deep down, they follow the ways of this Edomite. Okay, they may not be out and out feminists, but they will still have ideologies of feminism, right? And if you don't believe that, tell him to get you another wife, man. Right? Tell him to obey you, right? Read the scripture where it says, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. It says, the heart of the husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She's like the merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. Right now, that's what women, in certain cultures still kind of do. Waking up early, making sure that the children have been fed, the husband's been fed, and the children's been fed, right? Making sure that all of the different little tasks that she has to do are done. Once again, here in the West, all of these bros, they trusted Esau, wanted Esau to give them equal footing, and as such, they went from, as that self-described bimbo, here said, right, could have been baking cookies. Now we got to go out and die for Raytheon, right? But yeah, and it goes into other stuff. But hey, this is just another example of what happens when you trust this devil, man, right? And this is going the hell off because hey, when you went out to war, you went out with men. You didn't have women in your armies, man, right? You didn't even have people. There were so many different rules, which yeah, we can go into. I'll do it in another lesson as well, right? In the rules of war, right? For instance, if you had a man who had just been married, he couldn't come to war. Right? Why couldn't he come to war? Because his head wouldn't be in the right place. Right? He just married a woman, has even given a seed, has even dealt with her properly like that yet. Right? His mind's gonna be on that, right? And then he might die before he gives her seed. Or you get a guy who's scared. Hey, you don't bring him to war. You bring him to war because that fear is infectious, man. Right? But yeah, as always, Lord's all that was edifying. Till next time we say, Shalom.